the good news is you're going up against a not very good Falcons offensive line. Now, we thought that about the Broncos last week as well, and they were able to run the ball and do some things.
Yeah, I think we've learned our lesson. We can't take anybody lightly.
No, not that you take them lightly, but just like when you look at some of the pass blocking grades, even the run blocking grades, like the Falcons are one of the bottom teams when it comes to like pass protection. When you look at their pass block win rate with ESPN or just their Pro Football Focus pass block grade as a team, they're basically bottom 5 or 6 in the league in terms of pass protection from those standpoints. And then even when it comes to run blocking, they're below average from that standpoint. They don't even really run the ball that much. I mean, you got run all over by Javonte Williams, by Melvin Gordon, but the good news is, I mean, Mike Davis, most people don't even know who he is, but they don't run the ball that much. And Cordell Patterson's a stud, but most of his dominance has been as the gadget back, and it mostly comes through the air a little bit.
Yeah.
Atlanta's currently averaging the 8th least rushing attempts in the NFL. So, like, they really just they try and throw the ball a ton. So the run defense is probably going to get at least some semblance of a breather this week, which is nice.
Certainly, you have to look at Matt Ryan in this game. Matty Ice, he's still getting it done. He's got 4 300-yard games with the Falcons, notching a 3-1 record in those games. And Ryan's directed 3 fourth-quarter comebacks / game-winning drives this season already. So if you allow Matt Ryan to throw from a clean pocket, he's going to be able to pick you apart in this game. And I understand. You don't have Calvin Ridley, but I'm telling you, they've got some guys that are sneaky good, sneaky able to beat you. I don't think a lot of people were nervous about a Tim Patrick last week. So we got to find a way, or the Cowboys defense needs to find a way to just rattle him enough. Just at least get around the vicinity. Even if you're not necessarily finishing and getting him on the ground, just make him uncomfortable. Because, Matt Ryan does have the ability to turn it over now and then as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Matt Ryan's been playing it pretty safe this year. He's bottom 4 by average depth of target, but he's around the NFL average by most other metrics, according to Blogging the Boys. But they keep it close to the line of scrimmage, and they let guys like Cordell Patterson, guys like Russell Gage, guys like Kyle Pitts, obviously, take the ball and use their athleticism, break tackles, and get that yak. And that's where it frightens you with the Cowboys' ability to tackle. Now, I don't know what the metric is being used here, but Blogging the Boys tweeted out today that the Cowboys' defense currently ranks as the 6th worst tackling team in the league. So I need to dig in on what exactly is that. Just they've missed the most tackles, 6 most tackles.
That was
in the
something
league.
we were applauding them for being a really good tackling team, especially against Minnesota. Last week certainly was bad.
But a guy like Cordell Patterson in the open field, like, he's a guy that can really scare you. He's a guy that he's big and fast, so he can kind of run through you and also run around you. Mike Davis, a little bit that way, but like Kyle Pitts, certainly just a big guy who they get dragging over the middle, and then he takes an 8-yard drag and he can turn it into a 30-yard play just because of his ability after the catch and things like that. So tackling is going to be of the utmost importance. And obviously, being able to get that pressure. Like, I hope Barry Church is right when he talks about the Blue Chew player of the game,
Osa,
being Osa Odighizuwa. Like, someone is going to have to step up in a big way.
If they can do it in the middle there, oh my gosh, that would be such a benefit. Because right now I'm really scared about your edge. And you mentioned Cordell Patterson, Kyle Pitts. Those would be the other 2 guys certainly that you're going to have to be worried about. Kyle Pitts has topped 100 yards in 2 of the last 3 games. Certainly he's seen an uptick in production with Calvin Ridley being out. The one thing that's lacked for Kyle Pitts is the touchdowns. But the Cowboys they've really struggled against tight ends ever since they lost Byron Jones, who was the one guy that they loved matching up against tight ends, that seemed to be able to take away and benefit the Cowboys in matching up against tight ends. But now I'm interested to see what they do. Do they rock with Jaron Kearse against him, which is what I think they'll try and do. I don't love that matchup. I don't know that you love any matchup against Kyle Pitts. I know somebody texted in Kelvin Joseph did fairly well against Kyle Pitts. I do remember Kyle Pitts burning Kelvin Joseph as well in that game too.
Yeah, and that's a hell of a way to just throw Kelvin Joseph to the fire.
Yeah, a guy who's like played a little special teams. And it's, all right, you know what? Get out there, knock off the rookie rush. You're going up against Kyle Pitts this week. A.J. Terrell, who Dalton Miller talked to us about last night, the cornerback, second-year pro. He is really starting to come into his own. And he's a guy that the Cowboys were actually interested in 2 years ago in the draft. They ended up taking CeeDee Lamb, who fell into their laps because Terrell went to the Cardinals the pick prior. But he's emerging as a potential cornerback one, and he should have the Amari Cooper duties. And then you have Dion Jones, who has been a sensational player, a guy Dan Quinn knows very well. He is the prototypical modern-day linebacker who has the speed to cover, goes sideline to sideline, can also blitz well, and he's got 72 tackles, 2 sacks, 7 tackles for loss in a pass defense. He's going to be a big-time difference maker for Atlanta defensively in this game. And then Foyesade Alukum is the linebacker who might have an ability to also aid Dion Jones for Atlanta as well on the defensive side of the ball. Their front seven's playing a little bit better. And then, of course, there's Grady Jarrett, who we've long looked at as one of the better interior defensive linemen in the NFL at 6 foot, 305 pounds. We had a couple of texts like, oh, could the Cowboys make a trade for Grady Jarrett at the deadline? That contract, I think, was just too big, so it scared the Cowboys off. But they've got some players on the defensive side of the football, even though you don't think of them as being one of the better defenses in the league. They've got some guys that can cause you some problems.
Well, Dion Jones, just his speed and athleticism like that's always going to be a bit concerning. Do we know about the availability of Devonta Fowler this week? With him being the kind of guy that...
I don't think Devonta Fowler... I think he's on IR.
Okay, I didn't know if he was...
But we can double check.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what his status was because... From a pass rushing standpoint, like that's a guy that could, probably give a guy like Terrence Steele considerable fits. But I think the speed of Dion Jones can get you a little bit. They got a couple of guys you mentioned, A.J. Terrell, who's had a really nice sophomore season. But other than that, I feel like the Cowboys are going to be able to do their thing versus this Falcons defense as long as they show up ready to play.
So here's the latest on Devonta Fowler. Yesterday, he was designated to return to practice. Now he's entered the 21-day period in which he can return to the Falcons' active roster. So that means that he's probably unlikely to play this Sunday.
Good.